What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Swolecast. This week, we are talking Scott Fishbowl, we are talking Raheem Mostert, and we are talking with an old pal of ours, Benjamin Gretsch. Benjamin Gretsch, repping the FI stuff. I love it, man. How are you?
I'm I guess, a little surprised. I put this on, and both you and Davis had yours front and center, and now we're all buddies. I didn't know you
crazy.
Could still have all the swag right on him.
R.I.P. FI. Oh, I love Overzet's shirt that he has.
Oh yeah, no, we're all wearing our FI shirts today. This is one of my favorite football sites back in the day, man. To have a piece of history in my closet means a lot.
I got about 100 pieces of history in my closet that I can ship you.
I wish Tuttle was here for the remembrances of Fantasy Insiders, because nothing makes me more happy than when Tuttle and I remember the early days of Fantasy Insiders.
Well, nothing makes Tuttle less happy than talking about the Scott Fishbowl. So here we are.
So it's a draw. As far as the Scott Fishbowl, obviously we have some stuff to talk about, but I want to start by wishing a guy that we know, Jack Miller, at Jack Miller 02. I just want to wish him a happy family trip that he's on today. And I really hope it's
possibly the toughest of scenes for our buddy Jack Miller.
Hang on, sorry. Who is Jack Miller?
Jack
Miller.
It's
a question that a lot more people would have been able to answer that question had he not been too busy playing ping pong with his grandma right now.
He gets one Silva bump in Big Times the Swolecast. I mean, imagine the stones on that kid.
So he was writing in high school. Is very kind of like Davis-esque, and as far as writing in high school about fantasy sports, he was on the fantasy underground stuff with the Podfather on their
fantasy underground stuff.
Yeah, what's it?
Yeah,
I always call it player profiler, but it's like
Roto Underworld.
Roto Underworld, same thing. We don't want to give too many free plugs around here. But anyways, we said, hey, let's invite him on. He's been pretty sharp lately. He wrote for the Best Ball Draft Kit last year when FI was still around. So let's give him a chance. And so Peter sends him a public invite, and he just waves Peter's invite. Sorry, can't do it. So Jack, you might be dead to us right now.
He's been canceled. He is for sure canceled. I will never give him another click at RotoViz ever again. I will never support anything he does. I used to think he was a sharp, and he revealed himself to be the biggest donkey in the industry.
So he might be be your Jacob Rickroad then, Peter, right?
I would be honored.
Jack Miller actually writes fantasy articles, so that'd be tough.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Boom. Tough scene for @Clutch Fantasy.
Are you gonna introduce Gretsch, bro?
That's the best beef that's the best beef on fantasy Twitter, by the way, because you guys just go at each other really hard and we
actually don't.
It's all passion. It's not like a big public feud.
It's not a bit either.
They following both of you at this point.
Oh, it's not a bit. It is quite legit.
It's a very aggressive feud.
Talking with Ben Gretsch right now from CBS Sports, FF Today podcast. He's big time. He's amazing. Do you have a check mark on your name now, Ben?
I do.
Oh wow! Tell Davis how that feels to have that check mark,
dude. It's just. I mean, all right, whatever.
All right.
It's so disappointing.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It feels pretty good, especially if Davis doesn't have one. It feels good.
I mean, you don't want a check mark if Davis has one. That's when it ceases being cool.
So we have to talk about Scott Fishbowl, and we're definitely going to talk about Ben's draft because
Ben's division just rolling over for him.
Oh, come on.
I've never thought
granted, your division didn't roll over as hard as JJ's division rolled over for him.
I've gotten a ton of values. There's a ton of luck in this. I feel great about the players that were available to me at times I picked. At the same time, it's more just a quirk, I would say. I don't want to go at my division mates because I don't think any of them really made bad decisions. It's just been situations where they're like going to different positions and a position gets forgotten about, and that's the position I need, and it's just working out for me perfect every time.
Are you running for office anytime soon, Ben?
That is very smooth.
Ben is going to be the new leader of the autonomous zone in Seattle with political diplomatic speech like that.
I was going to say the Scott Fish Bowl AZ, but I couldn't make it work.
Hey, shoot a shot,
Devin, can you cut that part out? Let's talk about the Raheem Mostert trade request before we get heavily involved into the Scott Fish Bowl. Mostert,
personally, I see that working out well for him. Just personally, I think it's going to go well.
You think there's a big market for running backs now?
Big market. I think the 49ers are obviously an organization that really value that position, really want to. So I think worst case scenario, he gets traded to a contender. Best case scenario, they give him a nice little pay raise, and they totally respect the decision making. I think it'll work out.
He wants to make as much as Tevin Coleman, which honestly seems like a pretty reasonable request. But it is a
fully rational request.
He just signed the deal last year, so it's like you signed it, bro. Like I get it. There's special teams involved there, but anyways, Ben, what's your take on this?
I mean, his base salary is $2.9 million, right? Like,
it's not bad.
There was this comment that he signed a special teams contract, but like, it's not great. But I mean, for running backs, an older running back who had I think like 40 career touches before last season, it's kind of hard to like that. I think is about what
42 Ben.
Yeah, and isn't that about what Damian Williams?
who led the league in yards per carry last year?
Yeah, no passing game work, which is obviously what anyone in analytics Twitter recognizes as more important to running back value. But isn't that close to what Damian Williams signed his extension with the Chiefs after he kind of came out of obscurity and had a good end of 2018? I mean, I think his extension was like 2 years and he was getting $2 to $3 million a year. I mean, Mostert's a very similar late blossomer type guy. I don't know why he wants. I feel like it's a fair contract.
Yeah,
I mean,
it sounds
just
reasonable,
wants to
but
be paid like the starter.
Yeah, I also don't blame him, or don't blame any running back for trying to get as much money as possible when you're actually relevant, because it's tough until then. Peter, you have something you want to say right now?
No. I mean, I always have something I want to say. Unlike Davis, though, I'm a little more willing to kind of be patient and pick my spots. He needs to read the room, though, a little bit, right? I mean, if any organization has shown a willingness to devalue running backs, cycle through whoever, it's the 49ers. Like, Shanahan does not care. He'll burn a draft pick on, Joe Williams or whatever, and just move right on. Like, I think he needs to have a hard look in the mirror and realize that the 49ers aren't going to cave to his demands.
Okay, so if you're having a guess right now, let's say you're in a best ball draft or doing a Scott Fish Bowl draft, where would you value Mostert as things are not resolved right now, Davis?
I mean, the same place I've always had him, like 7th, 8th round, and he's been like, he has been.
You might actually get him there. Now
you could take him now. Very similar to his teammate Dante Pettis last year. Just one of the most overdrafted guys in all of fantasy football for a big chunk of the offseason.
Okay, let's say he fell to the 7th or 8th, though. I mean, are you just saying that to kind of hedge, or would you actually take him there?
I don't think I'd actually take him. But here's the thing, though. You can say like this is sort of what makes sense or what people will do, but then be like, I'm actually not taking Raheem Mostert until like the 10th round, personally.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Davis, I'm hearing you say that you're maybe in best balls you would draft him at the 8th round, but not.
No, guys like that are worse in best balls because Mostert will be a guy you can cut once it becomes clear that like Jerick McKinnon is ahead of him in the pecking order. He's worse in that format.
All right, Peter, where would you draft him at?
Yeah, well, to Ben's point, the whole reason Mostert is a bad pick before all of this is because he's going in that dead zone where you are paying for him to hit his ceiling at that cost. And then the whole point is there's all these risks like this, injuries, trade talks, guys usurping him. But if he drops and he's in the 7th, 8th round of regular leagues, then he's a premium 0 running back target for you, because then the fragility is working in your favor and there's no opportunity cost of the wide receivers you're passing over there. I hate it when I black out and make sense.
That was a legit take. I think everyone appreciates that. So here's the thing. In the Scott Fishbowl draft, he still has not been drafted in my league, and we're 906. Or 907. I've got the 908. I've got the next pick. I've only drafted one running back so far. It would be, according to Josh ADHD's Scott Fishbowl tool, it would be the latest he has been picked thus far. 110 teams have selected him. Hayden Wink's currently the last person with the 901. So if I draft him, if you do draft him, Ben, what are your thoughts on the proverbial handcuff?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with, I think it was Davis's take that he's worse in best ball, because this is a team, I feel like trying to figure out when to put him in your lineup is going to be tough. I mean, he's
going to be terrible.
He ran for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship, and then they started Tevin Coleman in the Super Bowl. Like, they didn't bring him into like the third drive. Mostert, I think he got his first carry on their third drive in the Super Bowl after running for 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship. I mean, that's wild. I think this is a format, the Scott Fishbowl with the first downs, that obviously leans towards him, where he's more of an efficient runner. You're hoping that efficiency sticks, and he's probably not going to catch a ton of passes. So I think it can make some sense, but you're probably going to have some games where Tevin Coleman just gets used more. Like, I think it's going to be a committee and a tough one week by week.
Can we, I know this show is supposed to be a gathering of positivity, but can we roast some of the people who drafted?
Yeah, like third round Raheem Mostert, please. Please.
King Showtime 44 took him at 304. B111 Edwards took him at 305. Dear Johnny Football took him at 307. Rest in peace, guys. You guys are now in the in-between with Jack Miller.
Davis said the people that have drafted Raheem Mostert, I want to quote him directly on this. He said the people that have drafted Raheem Mostert is like the inverse for the people that have drafted Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki, and TJ Hawkinson. I thought that was interesting because I looked at the Gesicki and the Hawkinson, and obviously some sharp people were on there. I think Davis threw the Fant name in there because he's the guy that drafted Noah Fant. Literally no other sharps that I saw on Noah Fant except for Davis and at Vols_fan_Matt. So Davis, did you put that in there because you drafted Noah Fant?
No, that's just a tier that we all agreed on.
But no one's taken Fant so far.
They will. I mean, it's very. They're like they project like the exact same.
I will say, Ben, are you surprised? I thought tight ends were going to be flying off the shelves,
off the board
faster. And my guess is you probably prefer the elite tight ends and then that second tier of breakout, and you ended up, or the third tier, and you ended up in that middle tier because you were just getting insane values on those.
Yeah, I probably would have been targeting Gesicki or Hawkinson where I took those other guys, and that's one of the runs that I was referring to in my draft where I went running back at 1 with Christian McCaffrey, QB, and then I went wide receiver. There's a lot of value at that point. And I also really liked stacking the week 13 buys with McCaffrey because I feel like I'm committed to trying to get a buy in the playoff structure. So now I have 4 week 13 buys. If my team doesn't get a buy, I'm screwed. But
wow. That's why you get paid to do fantasy football for a living, because I haven't even thought about a bye week this entire draft.
Someone mentioned bye weeks in our league chat, and I was like, "Oh, bye weeks."
So in this
it worked
case,
out.
the regular season is week 1 to 12. So McCaffrey with the week 13 bye won't miss a week of the regular season. And if I already think it's going to be tough to win without McCaffrey in week 13, why don't I just take more guys like that, give myself a bigger edge in the week 1 to 12 regular season? And I have 4 starters now who won't have a bye during the regular season. I hope that gives me an edge toward getting the week 13 bye. Because if I don't get that, I'm done. So that's kind of what my whole team hinges on at this point. But after I took those 2 receivers, I was like, okay, I'm going to probably be targeting tight end next. And between that turn and the next turn, my league didn't take a single tight end. And so, that's one point where I would say, like, collectively, it was probably a mistake. But everyone individually took good picks. Like, they took good running backs, good receivers, good quarterbacks. They were just targeting different things. They had different draft structures. And I'm the one who ended up benefiting because that's the only position I hadn't hit yet. And it's like, oh, great, I get Darren Waller at 6'12", and I get Evan Ingram at 7'01". That's okay, I'll take that.
Ben Gretsch, there's lots of good people on both sides.
Lots of good people on both sides. Lots of good people. Drafting Melvin Gordon in the 5th round and letting letting Darren Waller fall to the 701 or 612 rather.
Yeah, Ben's team is definitely the most unique team. Obviously, starting Christian McCaffrey and then somehow getting Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray coming back around. Then he gets Waller, Ingram, and Hunter Henry. No surprise, his second running back is Rojo because he is one of the original truthers, and he's not going to let that one go. He's got Debo, Christian Kirk, Evans, DJ Moore. I mean, just a loaded team, Ben. Do you feel – I'm guessing you feel good about the squad.
Yeah, I've never felt better about my Scott Fishbowl team, which means which
means you're screwed.
I've never been more pessimistic about the 2020 season happening in full. Something's going to go wrong here.
You know what it reminds me of? It would be like if you created this kind of new, interesting, unique fantasy format that pulled in lots of different leagues and you organized and whipped up a site for it and got a lot of buzz going, and then all sports were canceled. It would be like very similar to that.
Yeah, like if we did like a whole podcast about it, Ben, even.
Great time to launch that. Hey, that podcast is going to get some clicks in January. I promise you that.
Yeah, January 2023 maybe. I think would be a good time to push that one back out.
Remember when you said no inside baseball this episode, Davis?
I'm sticking to it.
For those, just to recap, Too Long Didn't Read, Ben started an awesome fantasy format where every fantasy sport is in play except like esports. And I called it a fantasy sport, Peter, so don't get mad at me. Don't give me that look. Like I legit grouped it into a sport.
I mean, by the way, when we run this back, we need to add the Chinese LPL into it, Gretsch.
Yeah, I'm going to need some help with figuring out these leagues that you guys are all following.
So one big fantasy league with every sport, and then all the sports just get canceled. So tough scenes there, Ben, but you're making up for it with a Scott Fishbowl. And let's give Scott some credit.
Strong time to launch that idea, right? That requires all the sports right before.
Really strong time.
Yeah. Another great idea, though, is a Scott Fishbowl. His the scoring system. You have seen 800 different roster builds. Basically, everyone is different. Some people are going the Podfather going robust running back. You've got some people going zero running back. You have some people that claim they were zero RB truthers, and they claim stick to it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I would have been
Peter,
right there.
Defend yourself.
I didn't want to take Saquon. I wanted one of the 2 quarterbacks, Mahomes or Lamar, there at the top. They went 1-2 in my draft. McCaffrey falls to 3. What's your move, Gretsch? Who do you take at 4? Because I know you're a purist too. I need to be let off the hook for this pick.
Wait, so explain to me what happened again. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, God. McCaffrey. Now we have 2 Davises on this show.
McCaffrey, Mahomes, Jackson were the top 3.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have taken Barkley.
Okay, so but I wanted ideologically. But
what if your whole brand was built upon the zero RB? What if you tried to bond?
You were in a group chat with Shane Battier. Yeah, we have Shane Battier in our group chat being like, he's just sticking to the principles and Pete's trying to buddy up with him. And then he starts his draft taking Saquon, like basically ruins the chance of building this friendship with Battier.
Yeah, that would have played into my calculation.
Would be in the French
graphic. There's a graphic.
I would be in the French Riviera eating brunch with Shane Battier talking about 0 running back targets right now. And instead, I'm in the content mines reposting counselor Instagram stories.
And all you had to do was take Mike Thomas.
The graphic someone created that had Pete basically in the middle thinking about who to draft. And on one shoulder, it was the angel, Shane Battier, whispering in his ear, 0 RB. And on the other shoulder, it was the counselor in the devil's costume telling him to pick Saquon. And he succumbed to the dark side. So that is how it is.
Though. It's like a worse version of my team in every way.
I'm literally looking at your running backs and I'm like, I hope I can double tap Phillip Lindsay and Zach Moss coming back so I can just have a watered down version of Ben's team. God.
Pete, how do you feel looking back on the fact that you were able to get Gesicki and Hawkinson? Do you just hate that Hunter Henry pick? Are you like, I biffed it?
Yeah, I hated that spot in the draft. I knew I wanted to start loading up on tight ends because I didn't get Mark Andrews in the second or third, which I was going for. And I thought there'd be a tight end run. I kept waiting for people to get tight end hungry in this format, and it never happened. So, yeah, I massively regret that pick. I was 2 picks away from A.J. Brown falling to me at that spot, and then he didn't, and I took a tight end. And I'm pretty sure I was one of the earliest people to take Hunter Henry, and I hate everything.
I really was tempted to go full like Phil Hellmuth on my divisions group chat because in between my 10th and 11th selection, my whole queue got destroyed. I had 5 guys loaded up and they all went. Like, I think the earliest McCole Hardman is gone in any draft would have been, first of all, where I had him selected to auto draft. But now I have Sammy Watkins loaded up as my pre-draft selection in the 11th round, just because these people have put me on such insane, like, monkey tilt. I can't believe that. It's so annoying. It's so annoying.
The best thing is everyone posting these gorgeous screenshots, and Davis is about to go Tariq Cohen and Sammy Watkins back to back.
Now, Sean did take Tariq Cohen, so that makes it okay. Like Sean, if Sean makes the selection, yeah, it's signed off. But yeah. Sammy Watkins over all these other 0 RB targets is unjustifiably bad, and I'm only doing it out of pure anger and frustration.
Actually, this is funny.
The ADP stuff is crazy because it's so all over the board. So you can't look at it and be like, "Oh, my guy's going to be there." Like I thought, like all my brand guys, like Keshawn Vaughn, Tannehill, AJ Brown, like they all went right before I could take them, and it was just like I thought that I had plenty of space to take them, and I didn't.
AJ Brown has been a really interesting guy in these. He's gone in the 4th round and in the 7th round. Like they're just these massive swings in valuation. I think I took him in the 5th round, which didn't feel great, honestly.
Well, I think he won the 5th in mine. There's picks like that I was looking at. Jonathan Taylor's another guy I really like. That's where I think my league was sharp. They took a lot of guys that I like and I think are good targets in spots where I was going to consider them for the first time at my next pick. So they got me, they beat me to the punch. But I was gonna laugh at your Cohen pick because you took him 10:09, and I said I was considering him one pick before me at 12:12. He went at 12:11.
Basically, what we've established is that for Kitchen Davis and I, the Scott Fishbowl has destroyed our brands. And meanwhile, JJ and Ben Gretsch, their drafts are filled with paid crisis actors to lift up the quality of their teams and boost their brands and, position as industry thought leaders. So it's just a great contest all around.
Well, my draft was fine until this round. It's really gotten away from me.
I still don't have a second quarterback.
Wow.
Not sure that's going to work out for you.
Here's the thing.
I think people are donking the quarterback stuff hard, by the way.
DK Metcalf, who started with 2 quarterbacks, thinks that.
DK Metcalf fell all the way to the 7th, and I got Russ Wilson in the 2nd. So Lockett went before Metcalf, and so there was. I mean, if I had to pair someone, it would be like Josh Gordon, who just sold his Super Bowl ring yesterday for money, and like it's sad story there. Or like Antonio Brown, and hope that he plays. So like DK Metcalf was the last option I had. And so it was between Metcalf and Burrow, who fell all the way to the 7th. And I knew that Burrow wouldn't be back because another guy only had one quarterback, and I took Metcalf. But listen, I've got Godwin, Ridley, Metcalf, Diggs. I've got Ertz and Kelsey. I got David Johnson. So
you're just not planning on starting a super flex, just a regular
flex? It's just
flex?
Like Rivers is still there. And I'm hoping that he comes back around to me.
Really high ceiling option?
Well, it's just kind of what it is right now. I'm hoping those other guys, like, I mean, Metcalf and Godwin are the ceiling guys that kind of get me there.
Is Bridgewater still available for you?
No, he's gone. Like everybody's gone except for Rivers. Darnold is there. Tua is there if I wanted to like get a quarterback 3 after Rivers, but yeah.
I like Rivers in this format. I think like they got a great offensive line. I think the Colts are like really underrated, and he's always been pretty accurate. I think he'll take fewer sacks in Indianapolis, and I think he'll complete plenty of passes.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys.
But he might just be dusted off though. Like you gotta calculate in the possibility that like he just is not physically able to do it anymore.
True.
So take a look at my team. I really want Gesicki, but I only have one quarterback and one running back.
Are you just committed to the bid at this point?
About what?
Of the bid of only having one quarterback?
Are you committed to having a shitty team or not?
Well, no. I mean, there are guys in our 104 group chat, Peter, who are like, actually, you don't even need a second quarterback because there's going to be so many bad weeks. You're better off just starting, Diggs instead of a second quarterback.
Well, my thing is like, I think I can get Rivers coming back in the 10th, rather than someone snag him as their QB3. So does that mean that I can go Gesicki? But even though Mostert's there in the 9th, I don't have one running back. So pick my player.
So
Rivers, Mostert, or Gesicki.
Based on ADP, Rivers is clearly the next highest quarterback. He has a 94 ADP. What overall pick are you at? I don't think you're going to get him on.
They're at like 9.6. I just pulled it up here.
Yeah. We just completed
so
9.6.
You're past Rivers ADP. So the thought that you'll get him another round later might be stretching it. You might have to make a call on him now.
Ugh. But Gesicki, there's so many sharps on Gesicki. I want to join Team Sharps.
He just wants to see Soccer Dave in the screenshot with like Drew Dinkmeyer. Like that's literally all he wants. He just wants to be. He wants to be in the screenshot of people being like, the Gesicki bros are really sharp.
Peter, can you pull up Gesicki? Who drafted him on the tool? Because I think there's some pretty sharp people there.
We've been having a Gesicki holy war via DM with Pat Crane literally all week.
I'll say this: the way your roster's built, if it were me, I would not worry about the fact that Raheem Mostert looks like a value, and I just wouldn't take him because I didn't already like him already, and I'd be more concerned about other things. I'd either take Gesicki or Rivers. I like Gesicki a ton too. I didn't get him, but
all right. Well, Gesicki, you've got the franchise 12, Drew Dinkmeyer, late round QB, Pat Thorman.
The Siege.
The Siege. Peter Overzet? Is that Peter Overzet I see?
That's right.
And then one in the 9-11 spot, Jacob Rickroad at Clutch Fantasy. Imagine myself in that collection of sharps right now with Gesicki. In addition to Kelsey and Ertz, tell me I should not do it, Davis.
I mean, I think you should take Rivers, but other people feel differently about the quarterback scoring than I do.
Do you know what's gross? Beers Water getting Gesicki at 11:01.
That's
gross.
Some leagues are just cheating. Like some leagues are straight up like it's just cheating.
Shane Battier got him also. Man, Noisy Huevos, Fantasy Mansion, like all these guys.
Kitchen, in my projections, Rivers comes out QB 17 in Scott Fishbowl scoring, one spot ahead of Josh Allen. It's not a horrible option in this format if you like Indy's offense and you know.
I just feel like at this point, I'm just going for like just massive upside with Gesicki, and then hoping that Rivers comes back, and if not, it is what it is. But I'm all in it to win it, basically. Not going to hedge it like Davis is with his vanilla roster. I just want to win this thing. So
what is vanilla? What is vanilla about my roster?
It's just like bad plays, like Fant when everyone else is taking Gesicki.
All right, let's book Gesicki versus Fant. How much you want? PPR or Scott Fishbowl scoring?
It looks like you're reaching for your wallet, like to get out the bills right now. How much? $20?
Let's see here.
Davis, why are you so high on Noah Fant that you want to book him against Gesicki?
It's just the same. They're basically like the same thing to me. I don't really have them projected that many points apart.
So that's why you want to bet.
But how are they the same thing? Do you think Drew Lock is like really good?
No, I'll back Noah Fant here. They both had very similar production last year, and I think they're in similar scenarios, right? Where you're banking on, can Gesicki be the number 2 over Preston Williams, and can Noah Fant be the number 2 over Jerry Jeudy? I feel like they are pretty comparable from production, athletic, and team situation standpoint.
Except
I have them separated by 19 PPR points. I have Gesicki as my tight end 6 and Fant as my tight end 10, but obviously really close in terms of points per game. I prefer Gesicki, but I don't think it's like a tier break or anything like that. I think that would be absurd, especially.
I have them 28 points apart, so I do think it's a tier break, and I don't think it's absurd. Gesicki had the 4th most air yards at the position.
Gesicki? You prefer Gesicki, yet you want to place a bet on Fant.
Yeah. He's asking you.
Yeah, I think it's basically like a coin flip. Like the difference would be a touchdown basically over the course of the season.
So Gesicki ran the 4th most routes of all tight ends and had the 4th most air yards and ran the most routes out of the slot of any tight end and was split out in the slot or out wide. I think four times as frequently as he was in line. Like he was very inefficient, and I agree with Peter that like the roster layouts are similar, but
no, I agree with I agree with 100% of what you're saying. And I think Gesicki was literally my tight end 5 maybe in rankings, and I did a podcast with Mike Clay last week, and he brought the heat in terms of Gesicki has an incredibly good chance of being this year's OJ Howard because of how Chan Gailey uses tight ends, and I don't know
that's why I used the point about how he doesn't line up in line. He doesn't play tight end.
Well, I think the concern.
Graham.
So I totally agree with you, and I think the concern would be that basically those slot snaps just get eliminated because it's not part of the offense. Now, I like Gesicki more than Fant. I haven't projected ahead. I haven't ranked ahead, but I don't think there is a tier break at all.
The SFB drafters don't think there's a tier break either. They're going within 4 of ADP, Gesicki 104 and Noah Fant at 108. But that's probably makes Gesicki.
It's like public money versus is like sharp money, though, right? Like all the sharp money's on Gesicki.
The other side of it that I want to say is I think, and sorry to cut you off, Davis, but I think people are way too high on Drew Lock. Like Joe Flacco got hurt last year. Do you guys remember that they were like, Drew Lock's not ready? And they played Brandon Allen for 3 starts while he completed fewer than 50% of the passes, and they were like just awful on offense. And except for I think they won one game because that was the game that Cortland Sutton threw a TD or somebody threw a TD.
So I'm not high on Drew Lock. I think that KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy are basically not going to be ready for a combined 180 targets in year 1, and also the history of Okay, the history of first-round tight ends that produce as rookies is really limited because there just are not that many guys. But basically, like the number one thing you want to see from rookie tight ends is just like, were you able to get on the field? Were you able to play a bunch of snaps as rookies? If so, like your range of outcomes just includes so many better positive cases. And I liked Fant more than Hawkinson as a rookie anyways. Like Fant was a guy like for dynasty purposes and stuff I loved regardless. So I saw nothing to dissuade me of that last year.
Yeah,
basically.
I agree with that. I think Fant's a good player. I just like Locke only made 5 starts. People talk about it. He went 4-1. He threw fewer than 30 passes.
No, Locke is not good. I don't think Locke is
he might
good.
be. I just don't think we know. I think they really tailored those starts to bad defenses. If you go look at the schedule, 3 home games, and I just don't think we know.
Right.
Gretch, what's your opinion for Gesicki on having Fitzpatrick at quarterback for most of the season or Tua? Does that change things at all for you if you were confident in knowing which QB was going to start the most games?
Yeah, I'd rather have Fitzpatrick just because of all the stuff I just said about the volume and the air yards.
That's what Crane thinks too, which I don't know. I kind of think the improved efficiency of Tua could be better, but that also could be wrong.
It might be. If Tua's really good, I mean, that won't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, if Tua is like, a 7.8 adjusted yards per attempt quarterback or whatever as a rookie, like really absurd. Like clearly that'll be a win for Gesicki.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rookies that do that, even good ones,
Yeah.
All right. So, any regrets that you guys have, like after a couple of picks? Gretch, I'm guessing you don't have any.
So I had a big one when I took Rojo and I can't remember who
you take him over Vaughn.
Sick brag. Regretting a player I got
wait till the brag.
on.
Let me finish the brag.
Regretting a player I'd kill for. I would kill to have him.
2 good picks, but I realized that I should have taken Christian Kirk a little ahead of ADP to stack him with Kyler Murray, and then I got Christian Kirk the next time around.
That's your regret.
Oh my!
Is getting the guy you
my regret is just having the draft fall perfect for me.
I'd rather have Jack here right now, and that's saying a lot. God.
It's like the interview question. What's your biggest weakness? And that's
my biggest weakness is having a league-winning team.
That I care too much. I'm too much of a workaholic.
Where were you going with that, Gretch? Your biggest regret?
That's what I said. Let me finish the brag. That was literally the only regret that came to mind.
Oh, it was a good bit. Just you have to realize that Davis is always going to cut you off if it's longer than 2 sentences. Davis, what's your biggest regret?
I guess not taking McCole Hardman at the 9th round. I don't have any control over how bad the sequence went for me. It just was terrible. Actually, no, my biggest regret was not taking Tyreek Hill at the 209, 21st overall to complete the Mahomes stack. I should have just been more open to having a bad second quarterback, I think.
But you were debating that. I mean, you kind of knew that was like a big decision right before you faded.
Well, I thought there was and based on ADP, this turned out to be true, there was a bigger chance of Tyreek Hill coming back to me at the 304, 28th overall than Kyler Murray getting there. The issue is that the issue on doing a podcast for a very niche league with only 1,400 listeners in it, or 1,400 players in it, and then giving out your entire strategy beforehand is people generally know what you want to do.
Oh, so you think everyone was listening to your takes and sniping you?
I mean, that's what they said. So yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was true. Like, why would
Kitchen's like, you know what? This niche league with 1,400 total participants, there's no way they could have found your podcast, and there's no way they would have listened to it.
If I was in your league, I would have listened to your podcast probably.
Absolutely.
Just to figure out what you were doing.
I don't think that's going to affect. I don't think that would affect the way he's drafting.
Like I don't. The way other people are drafting and the values that are available, if they know he's not going to go,
I don't know. Gretch, you're talking about the guy who asked to be placed in another league because he was too scared of at Clutch Fantasy being.
Is that a true story?
That's a true story.
I saw Clutch Fantasy tweet that and claim that.
Yes.
Is that true, Davis?
No,
Yes.
Scott DM'd me and said, like, Scott Fishbowl is supposed to be fun. I don't want to be involved with this. And I said, it doesn't really matter to me either way.
Well, this is your story has changed a little bit since last week.
Inaccurate. I actually just read the DMs out loud on the show last week, so it's the exact same.
Okay. Peter.
What's up?
Regrets?
Yeah, probably not learning a second language as a young child.
Not being in Fantasy Insiders.
Being on the show.
No, I already said mine. Hunter Henry. I hate myself for taking him in the 6th round. It was very aggressive.
All right, let's talk about some of the Kyler Murray.
Who should you have taken?
Opinions.
Sorry.
I probably would have taken a wide receiver there. I think Sutton, like Diggs and AJ Brown, and some of my targets had all gone off the board, and I was tilting, and should have probably just taken one of those next tier wide receivers.
Hey, Gretch, can I go on to my next point? Cool. Let's talk about Kyler Murray for a second, because did all three of you take Kyler Murray? And Ben, I saw some people that were basically saying Kyler Murray in this format, he's not worth the price that you guys paid for him early second round. Late second round, early third round, ahead of some of those other quarterbacks. What's your take on Kyler Murray this year?
Yeah, me and Jeff Collins had a good discussion about that. He called it fishy, and that was kind of my point. Was I thought it was like I took him right at ADP. So I was just kind of saying like I didn't think it was fishy, but I like him a lot. I have him improving in touchdown rate. I have him improving in completion percentage, yards per attempt. We just talked about how rookie quarterbacks aren't typically very good. Murray was decent, 64% completion percentage. I mean, he wasn't bad across the board. And I expect, especially when you add in DeAndre Hopkins, and then you have the big pace note that I'm sure you guys know all about, that Arizona was like 4th in situation neutral pace, but they were only like 21st in plays. So that like, we should expect – everyone was pumped about Cliff Kingsbury running a ton of plays last year. It didn't happen, but the pace was there. We should expect that to actually happen.
I mean, when they actually are like completing passes and scoring points, they're going to run more plays. That's an official bold prediction here.
Yeah. I mean, I have them running a ton more. So Murray for me came out as QB6 in this format and just a point higher than QB7, pretty clearly outside the top 5, which was Lamar and Mahomes and Breeze and Wilson and Dak. And he's right there with Watson, like 15, 16 points behind. But I still think he made a lot of sense at QB7, which makes him in a Superflex league a second-round pick.
Peter Overzet, you like the horizontal air raid, am I right?
I love it. Can't get enough of it. I'm martingaling it this year, getting them everywhere.
The perfect pass.
Yeah. Pat's literally sending me already like screenshots from articles about like third string tight ends on the Cardinals that he's interested in as a late flyer. Like we're ready to go back to the well.
I mean, martingaling is scientifically proven to be the best gambling strategy.
It is. You can't lose.
You can't lose.
Any thoughts on like other than Gretsch, some of the good teams that were out there?
I mean, do we want to talk about JJ's team? Like, do we even have it in us to talk about JJ's team?
We can talk about JJ. Yeah, friend of the show, JJ.
I mean,
late round QB.
Gretch's division was kind. JJ's division just gave it up. You
think they rolled over and played dead?
I don't know. I would have to go look at the entire draft board to see if any of the other teams are relatively reasonable, but JJ's team is absurd. He starts with Saquon, then he gets Kenyon Drake, then he gets Mark Andrews, and then you're like, okay, well, he doesn't have a quarterback yet, so he's got it. He's going to get stuck with someone bad. Nope. Then he gets Chris Godwin at the 411. Then his division leaves him DJ Moore at the 502, and then you're like, okay, he's screwed. There's no way he's going to figure out quarterback. Nope. Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and then you're like, okay, well, they're going to it's going to get thin here late for him. Nope. Mike Gesicki, boom. Boom, Deontay Johnson. Boom, Marvin Jones. It's just like, it's ridiculous.
Good team.
It's a good team.
I like Mike Beer's team. Someone mentioned it. It's 0 RB, And I love that he put it on Twitter yesterday, and everybody was like, the comments were so harsh, and it just cracks me up because this team is so stacked everywhere else. He has to start 11 players. He's drafted 11 players. A couple of these guys will be backups. He's got to start running backs, obviously, but he's got so much flexibility and firepower everywhere else. If he hits on a late round running back, and it's not like he's not going to draft running backs. He's probably going to go 12 through 18 all running backs right now, I would expect. And if he hits on one of those guys, and
literally
almost
one,
every year,
literally one.
And that's a lot of bullets in the chamber now. I mean, now this team is like unbeatable.
If you're a guy like Jack, say, trying to break into this industry, first of all, accept invites onto industry flagpole shows. But second to that, if you want to get some heat, get some traction, just post a screenshot of you doing a true zero RB draft. Your engagement will be through the roof. You will trigger people. You will inspire a healthy discourse. This is a pro tip from me. Never stop tweeting about zero RB. Your mentions will love you for it.
Jack, though, he drafted Saquon with the second overall pick.
Happens to the best of us.
So
he actually had a choice. Like
he had a choice.
You were backed into a wall, Pete.
I was.
But I loved what Jack did because he went just heavy wide receiver. Juju, Ridley, Metcalf, Allen, Diggs, Fuller, Kirk. I've got 3 out of those guys. So, yeah.
That's a lot of really good receivers.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Sean's team?
Oh yeah, he had a really interesting start
since like the 3rd round or 4th round.
He just, he just did Sean things and just went all. I do think, to be fair, I think he does kind of josh around. I think it's a little disingenuous in the free leagues. I'm gonna say, I am gonna say that.
I talked with him. He said that, Blair had put out that first article on RotoViz where he was comparing the ADP to a tight end 5 start in the draft. And I think Sean found that intellectually interesting and wanted to experiment with it. But my guess would be if you asked Sean once he saw how that 3rd tier of tight end ADP shook out, he would like a mulligan on that start, just because I would have figured that this would have triggered more of a tight end run. But when he gets Hawkinson at 10:04, it just shows you, like, Gretch, like, should there be a 6-round ADP difference between Darren Waller and TJ Hawkinson?
No, and I bet you're right. I bet if there's one pick, especially, I don't think he would regret Kittle and Ertz, and this is just me speculating, but I bet it would be that Waller pick at 404. And I took Waller too, but, I got him at 612 because I only...
Oh! One of my biggest regrets was not being able to get Waller in the 7th round. I actually had to get him at 612.
I'm going to throw it.
Are we surprised? Are we surprised at how far Diggs has fallen?
I think Bills are like uniquely bad in this format because they're going to run like 400 plays.
Are they? Why are they going to run? They're not going to run that few, obviously. But why do you think they're going to be so slow paced?
I guess actually it's not a low volume; it's a low completion thing. There, where how many catches do you have Diggs projected for? I bet if I went and looked right now, I bet I have him projected for like startlingly low.
I have him at 79. So my thing with Diggs is this: they gave up not just a first, but a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th for a 7th back. They gave up a legitimate number 1 haul to get Diggs. And
wow, I'm even higher on him than you are. I didn't think I would be.
And then you look at what he did in Minnesota the last 2 years. They basically pigeonholed him. 2 years ago, he had like 148 targets at this low ADOT. Last year, his ADOT goes from like Michael Thomas range to like Will Fuller, Deshaun Jackson range. And he puts up an elite deep threat season. This guy can win at every depth. And now if the Bills actually throw to him at every depth, I think there's a potential, even though, he's going from one low-volume team to another low-volume team. I basically think the Vikings pigeonholed him, and he's shown them.
Do we think that Josh Allen has the ability to complete deep passes?
Well, I just think that his targets and
will be more valuable.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, and more valuable, exactly. Even in 2018, where he got more than I'm projecting here, but at a low ADOT, he'll get some deep shots. He'll score some long touchdowns. I mean, look how efficient he was last year.
That's the argument I reject. Like, if you want to just talk about Diggs in a vacuum, but the people that don't think this is an upgrade in situation, I mean, they're going to run more pass plays than the Vikings did. And he's going from being like the 1B with Thielen.
Yeah, he's just straight up one
in that offense.
I mean, the issue is Kirk Cousins is like 3 times the quarterback that Josh Allen is, though. And I do think that, like, I actually wouldn't surprise me if Diggs scores, like more fantasy points per game this year than last year in Minnesota, but ends up being one of those dudes who does not have a high win rate because there's going to be a ton of like 3 for 16s in there.
So Cousins is really good, right?
How much
of it is the fact that he has had Diggs, right? And he had Deshaun Jackson early in his career, and Deshaun Jackson's an interesting guy because he's always made the efficiency better. Right. And he's always had really high yards per target. Diggs last year, almost identical stats to Deshaun Jackson's average 16 game pace from his first 1,000-yard season to his last. It's like an extended prime. Their 16 game pace is almost identical, except Diggs did it on about 15 fewer targets than Deshaun Jackson used to average, which is just like he was a legitimate better than Deshaun Jackson deep threat last year. That's how good Diggs was last year down the field. I think creates some of that for Cousins.
They're going to feel it, right? Turning those targets to, Olabisi Johnson and Justin Jefferson and Tajay Sharp. Like they're going to feel that for sure.
And he's going to get open in Buffalo, and Allen will wing it, and he'll throw several 15 yards over Diggs' head, but probably a couple will land in his breadbasket.
Will be like somewhere in the catchable bucket, hopefully.
Right.
All right. Legit or bit, because you weren't around last week, Ben, Cam Newton has a top 10 quarterback this year. Davis has him QB8.
I do not have him QB8. I have him projected at QB8. I have him ranked as my QB14.
I'll say a bit.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it was projection week this week. So where do you have him projected?
I have him QB13 and 4-point and QB16 and 6-point per TD.
How many rushing attempts do you have him projected for?
I've got 91 carries, 437 yards, 4 rushing TDs, which is potentially low, but I'm expecting that Belichick won't run him into the goal line 100 times.
Well, that's
totally 4. I had him at 4.3. Gretch, might want to check the inputs, brother.
That's totally where I have him at. So you must just have them being like a very bad passing team.
I have him only thrown 541 times. I have him being a little more slow and run heavy. And
how many passing touchdowns?
26.
I can't figure out why your projection is lower than mine.
Well, maybe I'm just higher on a lot of other quarterbacks.
Maybe I can figure this out after the show.
Actually, yeah. I mean, the 3 guys I have ahead of him in 4-point per passing leagues are all within 7 points of him. Like he could easily be top 10 with, a couple extra stats.
Kitchen, let's rebrand the Swolecast. It's a projection workshop show. We bring on the biggest nerds
a workshop
in the industry to workshop their projections.
Oh, we don't do projections, so we make fun of everyone who does.
Exactly.
I would pay $10 to see Kitchen's projections if he found a way to rig them up. I would pay.
They would be pretty vanilla because I would just take everyone's projections and then just run the aggregate, and then
Titans players,
the Titans players.
Derrick Henry would have 2,000 yards.
Right.
Wisdom of the crowds with a little Titans premium coming to Soccer Dave's website, $39.99 a month.
Coming to RG Premium,
lifetime
baby.
Lifetime value of $1 million.
What's the lifetime value of a subscription to David Kitchen's Titans Premium projections?
It's priceless.
Is it close to a Roto Radar sub?
It really is. I was kind of tilted, but also kind of proud that I did not get any Titans players. Like they're all getting picked before I can get them. So AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, Tannehill.
Pat Kerrane loves himself some Ryan Tannehill. It's pretty intense.
I've been surprised at like how high Tannehill's gone, but I guess when you've got an efficient quarterback with just lots of weapons.
That 6-year sample of Ryan Tannehill playing like a converted wide receiver does not seem to be scaring people.
Yeah, but who is his coach? Who was his coach?
Who is Peyton Manning's coach?
It certainly wasn't, Terrell Owens reincarnate, A.J. Brown.
I mean, Devontae Parker, dude. Devontae Parker is good.
Devontae Parker wasn't getting on the field. He wasn't getting any passes. Like, Gase held him down, too. I don't know what you want.
And
what
also,
you want,
Devontae
Davis.
Parker, just not wave on being anywhere near A.J. Brown. Sorry. He's good.
I mean, I agree. But I think that Ryan Tannehill is lead the NFL in YPA good? I do not.
No, but something's going to happen. This is a point that I'm seeing missed by a lot of people. Something's going to happen with the Titans is if you regress their player efficiency,
they run more plays.
They have to run more plays, right?
Yeah.
They are two of the four lowest pass attempts in the last 6 years are the Titans the past 2 years. And last year in particular, it was because they were so efficient throwing the ball and running the ball down the stretch. They throw almost no passes down the stretch. If you regress that efficiency, you have to allow them to run more plays in your projection. Their offense will regress back in volume.
I think you can make a pretty good argument that A.J. Brown is about to become the best wide receiver in the NFL. When you look at his size and his projection, and where he reminds me of
he really can be.
Jones.
He can be.
Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams, they're good players, but they are not.
They're really just fancy ceiling. Julian Edelman.
Oh, man, pants are coming off right now, guys.
No, I mean
Michael Thomas does not have the ceiling of AJ Brown.
No, from an athleticism standpoint, Michael Thomas is not the athlete that AJ Brown is.
That's true.
It's true. That's why we called him Bad Michael Thomas 5 years ago. I mean, literally, only real fans know.
What I'm really trying to do is, now that Dave destroyed his brand by not taking A.J. Brown in the fishbowl, I'm trying to sneak in as the preeminent A.J. Brown truther. And I raised the stakes so high. I just said he's the greatest wide receiver ever.
he just said he's better than Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams.
You're not replacing me, but I am allowing you on the team.
Thank you.
So, and Davis drafted A.J. Brown too. So we've come a long way from last season, Davis fading A.J. Brown every single week, even though all he did was score long touchdowns.
Do you guys know how hard it was to take Mike Evans over A.J. Brown? I mean, you have Mike Evans sitting there looking at
faith,
you.
Bless your heart.
In a geriatric quarterback.
Bless your heart. All right, closing thoughts. Davis, closing thoughts.
Everyone in my division, I absolutely despise you guys. Legit don't like you for making me take Sammy Watkins in the 11th round.
All right. Peter, closing thoughts.
Yeah, if you have kids, get the Rosetta Stone, have them learn Mandarin. I think going forward, it's going to be incredibly valuable to be bilingual, and that's something you should be focusing on.
Mrs. Soccer Dave.
What is that?
Rosetta Stone employee. So, yeah.
Whoa.
There you go. As far as the second language, though, Mandarin would definitely be up there for sure. I got it. Gretch didn't get it. I got it. Ben, closing thoughts.
AJ Brown is better than Michael Thomas.
Do you think the counselor knows a second language?
Yeah.
That
language is testosterone. And he's fluent.
Right. All right. Thanks to Ben Gretch at Yards Per Gretch on Twitter. He's with the CBS team now, just crushing it on the FF Today stuff. It was projections week this week. So this guy is all signal, no noise. Ben, thanks for being on the show.
Damn, that was really heartfelt. That hit me here, man. Appreciate that.
All signal, no noise.
You're the A.J. Brown of fantasy analyst, brother.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week. Later.